Hi there, this is Karen STEVER. I'm coming at you from thepublicrecord.com, working on the Public Playground project, which is a song that the publicrecord.com community is working on with me. And it's my first major collaboration. I'm really excited about it, where I'm getting ideas from all over the world, Australia, Germany, here in the United States and in Canada, various places. And we've been coming together, just knocking heads and trying to figure out some ideas to write a song together. And so if you get a chance to watch yesterday's video about where I'm at with the lyrics, it would probably make more sense to you what I'm about to go into. But just so as not to repeat myself for people that already watched that video and bore you to tears, I just want to kind of give you an idea of where some of those ideas came from, where the topic had come from, where my intention came from, what happens to us as children, all those things I mentioned yesterday. I want to talk to you specifically where those ideas came from. And I have a really messy paper that I'm going to try to show you again, just to tell you kind of who inspired what. Alright, see how this works for us again here. Okay, so the original topic where I had said children reclaiming their childhood, that was Teresa Clayton that had brought up my stray cat that I had lost last year. His name was Filthy, and he was mostly white, but when I got him, he was a horrible mess. And she says, you know, we're all kind of like Filthy. We're coal that if we're polished, we can be polished into a gem. We could shine like diamonds when we're handled with care. And so that kind of got me set on the topic of children reclaiming their childhood. And it's kind of funny that whatever Filthy went through before he got here, he had some semblance of a life after that, you know, until he died last year. And so that was great that she kind of sparked that memory in me, and it gives me a real connection to this. Now, I took the intention from this, as I mentioned yesterday, from Roosevelt's speech. I'm talking about how older children have to have places set aside for them, that there's an absolute fundamental need for play. And I think that's what we're doing here at thepublicrecord.com. That's what our intention is to gather like-minded spirits in a place that we can hang out and be creative. When I talked about all the things that happened to us as children, Troy Castellano had talked about, how we're being trapped when he talked about the price of life, how much everything costs, and how a lot of us as musicians are trapped, just by just the cost of living, that we can't continue to make music. And Ron Imhoff brought up, how we all are dealing with frustration. And then Deb talked about fixation, which was, the Freudian thing, how we're just fixated on the things in our childhood. And so when I mentioned all those things yesterday that I jotted down on point form before I scribbled all this stuff on it, being neglected, being lonely, being abused, being angry, desperate, hungry, scared, and fearful, all those things, just some of the places that those came from. Tom S. talked about musicians not making it. Jason Nations and Michael Payne both mentioned us becoming slaves and how we settle into the lesser of the two evils. Soda talked about her violence. Marka Bones talked about thieves. Tweak talked about people pretending to be who they're not. And Jeff Kobe, he said that, he was saying that whole concept of what if I were you and the envy that people feel. Howling Wolfgang talked about runaways. Damien talked about Playground for Predators. So you can start to see how all this stuff kind of melds together. Charlotte had her awesome story about pushing ink and selling skin, how that girl was stuck in her world because she had to. Michael Myros, he talked about the idea of how we were taught to hate, then we live with hate, and then we have to decide somewhere along the way that what we were taught was wrong. And so that's kind of where all those, the things that happened to us as children fit in. Moving along, just because I want to get most of this in. On the playground, there's those three types of people, the victims, bullies, and those light workers and stuff. The victims idea, I was really moved by Carrie's dad, the landlord-tenant story. And Soda talked about her program state and the bullies, and Soda especially. She gets a lot of mind games played on her. And then I mentioned about Billy Carlin and the light workers, Greg Harvey, the guardian angels. April also talked about angels. Jeffrey One Horse, he talked more about the warriors. Carrie talked about, again, her dad, about being the Robin Hood. And so those are the kind of people that are on the playground. These are the three kinds of people that are on the playground. And then, so when I talked yesterday about the reason the playground can bring all these types of children finally to a place of feeling safe, like the original intention of President Roosevelt, a lot of that came from people like Jason Nations, who talked about rising from the ashes. Evan from Quebec talked about going against the stream. Joshua Walsh shared that really, heartbreaking story about a friend of his who was a hit and run, and so he's protecting the voices that are unheard. Matt came up with some just stellar stuff with the running with scissors, the concrete eggshells, and about perseverance. And Tom Schultz talked about the return to the playground. And so these are all just amazing things that kind of contributed to what I'm talking about here. So that is where I'm at right now. I will update you when I get a little deeper into the lyrical portion of this. And it's not going to be as literal as some of the things you're hearing, only because I want to keep it in a 1907 frame. And I also want it to be able to apply to people like outside this playground as well, so that other people who hear it, they can feel like it speaks to them as well. And just keep it in that 1907 kind of vibe. So I'm really excited, and I'll tune in with you tomorrow, okay? Rock on!